Today's Beads, Baubles, and Jewels is in living color. For one of the most basic elements of style, color. There are monochromatic color schemes, analogous color groups, complementary colors. Not sure what all of these are? Don't worry. Today, we'll get right down to the basics of color. We'll look at beads and the composition of your jewelry solely from the standpoint of color. Judy Hendrix is our color expert with her trusty tool, a color wheel. Our bead lesson with Katie Hacker is all about easy crimp. Working with any color, crimping is a basic technique. To put you in the mood, we start out with a non-traditional use of color with Mindy Brooks. You would never think of mixing these colors, but wait until you see how it works together. Our fashion focus is multiples, mixing and matching color. Lastly, our featured designer is Margot Potter. She has an eclectic style all her own, with an emphasis on color. So get out your color wheel and let's join Judy. Hi, I'm here with Judy Hendrix of Fire Mountain Gems and Beads, and today we're going to be talking all about color. And Judy, you're going to get us started off correctly, talking about how we can use a color wheel and color combinations, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I think it's one of the things that students ask the most is, what do I do? I don't have a clue. I'm not interested so much in technical. I want to show you the relationships on a color wheel to make it easier. If you understand that, you can pretty much do anything.
Just to help someone, particularly a beginner, just to get started.
Absolutely.
Just to know which colors would possibly look good together.
Right. There are 3 properties on a color wheel to begin with before we actually work with color that you need to understand. When you look at a color wheel, all of the colors in the color wheel have values in them, and it tells you, even though I'm pointing to green, there's a mint green, there's an olive green, there's all different greens.
Different shades,
right.
textures.
And that is a hue. That's called an actual hue.
Oh, okay.
This bracelet works because I've used all different colors of blue hues. They're all the same, but it works because it's monochromatic, but it still works because I've used lots of color of blue.
And you know that they're automatically going to go well together. They complement each other well because of the color wheel.
Exactly.
Okay.
The second property is value, and to me, this is the most important thing. You can see there is no color, and it really has nothing to do with color. What it is the how it ranges from white to black and all the gradations in between.
Right.
If you can learn to look at color through those eyes, you will always know what's going to happen, because light colors recede, dark colors go into the background.
That's a good point.
So if you can train yourself, that to me is the most important thing. And it's the impact that you see when you look at a bracelet, you notice that. You react to that value.
Exactly.
The last thing in the color wheel is the saturation of color.
Oh, I love that combination.
Yes, and it works because it is the full color. There's no whites or blacks added to a natural saturated color. So it's the pure red, the pure yellow, the pure blue. You put them together and it's going to work.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, before we work with the wheel, what I tell my students when they're beginners, if you're really struggling, go to the store and buy a piece of fabric.
Right.
They're masters at it. They're the ones that dictate to us what we do anyway. So what I've done here is I've taken an antique button that's pink, because most of the background is pink, and I've actually accented with the gold, the green, and the yellow right here.
Beautiful.
So we know it works.
Because it works so nice together.
Yes, and
really
it works
does.
and I had to really do no thinking, because I knew that this already worked.
Exactly.
But to use a color wheel, and you can take it with you, because it really does help see what's going to happen.
Okay.
If you see on the color wheel, there's all kinds of arrows on it. This example shows an arrow. The black arrow is directly across from each other. The coral and the turquoise, we already know that works. People use it all the time. But you can tell that it does work by looking at the color wheel. And the color wheel, when you're using opposites, it's divided in warm colors and cool colors. I think those that have had makeup done, they know that.
Right.
For every warm color, there is a cool color. Those always work. That's
a beautiful combination.
And it's an unquestionable thing.
Right.
The next thing you can do is to take these other wheels, and we're going to... Let's do this here. There is a red arrow here.
Okay.
And if you look up here, I've pointed to the green. And what it tells me then is to use the purple and the orangey rust colors, which is what I've chosen in my selection of beads. So it made it easy. It works because they're equal distance apart on the color wheel. These 2 examples show one that is very muted and one that's very bright, but they're still the same colors.
Same color combination.
And
it's amazing.
And look at how different they are. They really are. Another example is, which is a little bit easier to a little bit different to show you is if I turn this wheel and I point to the gold.
Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at that.
Look at, see, it's not quite as wide of a triangle, and they have figured out
a little closer so we could see
a little
it.
closer with the blue and the purple and the gold. Look how rich it is. So the color wheel has already figured that out.
Right.
By not making it equal distance, it's done something and reacted. So now you know the reaction. You're going to get a rich color. You can move this anywhere on the wheel, and you're going to get a rich color.
Okay, and the same thing here?
This particular one, what I did is I took a side.
Oh.
And it will work because those are all complementing each other.
Yeah.
And the holes in these, you can actually lay it over and find out where it goes so that you can turn your arrows.
Beautiful.
Isn't that a great idea?
It is. It's a great idea.
Okay.
I've never used a color wheel before, so this is really interesting to me.
It stretches you.
Yes,
it really does stretch you.
It does. And what do we have here?
This is a tonal wheel. When you get into tints and colors, there are people that are more comfortable working with pastels or muted tones.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are on the regular color wheel, but it's easier to see here. So what I've done is I've chosen some colors in the first dish to show you the same colors in bright can be done in the muted tones.
Right.
The carnelian rose in the center, I simply laid it over in the other example and showed you the bright colors from the other color wheel.
Right.
But it works just as well. It's not right or wrong.
It looks gorgeous. Now, you brought some other examples of some color lessons that we can learn, correct?
Yes, I did. On the pink and black one, that's simply an example of the pink being changed. If you notice on the top one, it's very shiny and bright. On the bottom, it's the more mauve color. It's a totally different look by just changing one bead.
Exactly.
So that's, again, the tones that we've used. On the bottom example with the purple, the purple and the green, on the top, I've strung it without any kind of metal or anything. On the bottom, it has the silver. It pops the whole design.
It really does. It changes it completely.
Completely.
And then we move up to the other one?
Yes, the turquoise, what I've done there is show you the difference between silver and gold. It's really, I think it's a personal preference. It reacts to you because you either like silver or gold, but it changes the whole project.
It really, really does. Right. Thanks, Judy. Well, Katie Hacker is up next with a great new crimp.